If you have ever searched for the best residential proxies, you already know the problem. Every result is a top 10 list written by someone who has never bought a single gigabyte, ranking providers by who pays the biggest affiliate commission. The prices are hidden, the pool numbers are made up, and half the providers reselling the exact same network swear they are the only real one. I run proxy infrastructure for a living, so I buy this stuff with my own money. Today, I want to walk you through how I actually judge a residential proxy provider, what separates the real ones from the resellers, and where each of the big names quietly falls down. Quick honesty up front, because this channel only works if I am straight with you. I run a mobile proxy operation, so yes, I sell proxies too, and I will tell you exactly where my own product fits and where it does not at the end. I am not going to pretend a mobile proxy is the answer to every question because it is not. What I can do is show you the buying criteria I use, the same ones that would let you see straight through my own marketing if I try to oversell you. By the end, you will be able to read any provider's pricing page and know within a minute whether they are worth your time. Here is the plan. First, the 5 things that actually matter when you buy residential and the ones that do not. Then a walk through the main providers people ask me about, the honest version, then who each one is genuinely for, and the cheap traps that look like a bargain and are not. No scores out of 10, no fake benchmark table, just how an operator thinks about it. So let us start with what residential proxies even are, because the confusion starts right here. A residential proxy routes your traffic through a real home internet connection, an actual person's device on an actual home ISP instead of a server in a data center. That real home IP is the whole point. To the site you are visiting, you look like an ordinary person at home, not a rack in a building. That is why people pay many times more for them than for data center IPs, which are cheap, fast, and instantly recognizable as commercial traffic. Now, the first thing that actually matters, and the one nobody wants to talk about, is where those home IPs come from. This is the uncomfortable center of the whole industry. A lot of residential pools are built from free VPN apps and SDDAs bundled into random mobile games and utilities, where the user technically agreed in some buried line of the terms of service to have their connection resold. The better providers have moved toward clearer consent and proper sourcing, and a few will actually talk to you about it. When a provider is completely silent on where the IPSI apps come from, that silence is the answer. You are not just buying a product there, you are buying a liability. The second thing that matters is the pricing model, because this is where you get quietly robbed. Most residential proxies bill per gigabyte of traffic, not per IP. That sounds harmless until you realize how fast gigabytes vanish when you are loading real pages with images, scripts, and video. A price that looks like a few dollars a gig turns into a serious monthly bill the moment you do anything at scale. And the headline number on the homepage is almost never the number you pay. It is the price at the highest commitment tier, the one you only reach by spending hundreds upfront. The third thing is the success rate on the targets you actually care about, not the targets in their demo. A provider can have 1 million EPs and still fail on the one site you need because those EPs are burned, flagged, or recycled too fast. A huge pool that has been hammered by every other customer for 2 years is worth less than a smaller clean one. So the only test that means anything is your own test on your own target with a small trial before you commit a cent. The fourth thing is rotation and session control. Do you get a fresh IP on every request, or can you hold the same one for 10 minutes while you finish a task? Real work needs both, and you need to control which one you get. A provider that only offers blind rotation with no sticky sessions is useless for anything that involves logging in or holding a card. The good ones give you a clean knob for session length. And the fifth thing is support and trust. The boring one that decides everything when something breaks at 2 in the morning. Can you reach a human? Do they have a real trial or just a money back promise you will have to fight for? Do they let you test before you pay? Providers that hide all pricing behind a sales call are usually hiding the price for a reason. With the criteria set, let us go through the names. Bright Data, formerly Luminati, is the giant. The biggest pool, the most features, the most enterprise polish, and genuinely the most capable network if you have a hard target and a real budget. It is also the most expensive and the most confusing to price. The dashboard has 100 knobs, the billing has tiers on tiers, and a beginner will absolutely overspend by accident. If you are a large company with a compliance team and a real budget, it is the safe default. If you are one person trying a project, it is overkill that will eat your wallet. Proxy Lab sits right next to Bright Data, enterprise grade, large pool, strong on the scraping side with their own unblocker products, priced for businesses rather than individuals. The honest summary is that Bright Data and Oxy Labs are the two serious enterprise options. They are both excellent, they are both expensive, and for most people watching this, they are more than you need. You are paying for scale and a sales team you will not use. Then there is the mid-market, and this is where most people actually should be looking. The Codo, which you might still know as Smart Proxy, is the one I point beginners to most often. Clean dashboard, honest enough pricing, a real self-serve trial, and a pool big enough for the vast majority of jobs. It is not the biggest, but it is the easiest to start with without getting hurt, and that matters more than raw size for a first project. SOX is in the same tier and leans hard into clean, well-sourced EPC with good geographic targeting down to the city and carrier. People who care about precise location targeting tend to like it. iProyal is the budget-friendly mid option, popular because it is approachable and the pricing does not require a meeting. Know the Maven market itself on filtering out the low-quality EPs before they ever reach you, trading a bit of pool size for a cleaner connection, which for some targets is exactly the right trade. Now the cheap end, and here is where you need to be careful. WebShare is the name that comes up constantly because it is genuinely cheap and has a free tier, but understand what that mostly is. WebShare's cheap product is data center and static EPs, not real rotating residential, and beginners conflate the two all the time. For learning the mechanics of proxies, it is fine, and the free tier is great practice. For anything that needs to look like a real home connection, data center IPs get caught instantly, and you will blame the technique when the problem was the product. And that is the real trap at the bottom of the market. When you see residential proxies advertised for a fraction of everyone else's price, ask yourself the obvious question. Residential bandwidth has a real cost because somewhere a real person's connection is being used. If someone is selling it for almost nothing, either it is not really residential or it is sourced in a way you would not be comfortable with if you saw it, or the IPs are so burned they fail on every target that matters. Cheap residential is the category where the bargain is almost always the most expensive choice once you count the failed requests. One more habit that will save you more money than any provider choice: actually run the trial before you commit a cent. Every name worth using lets you test, so take a small amount of your real traffic, point it at your actual target, not their demo site, and watch the success rate with your own eyes. A million IP pool means nothing if it fails on the one site you care about, and the only way to know is to try it on that site. Spend an evening trialing 2 or 3 providers on your real workload, and you will learn more than any top 10 list, including this one, could ever tell you. The provider that quietly passes your own test is the one that deserves your money. So who is each one for, plainly? If you are a big company with a hard target and a budget, Bright Data or Oxy Labs. If you are most people, a freelancer, a small team, a solo operator running a real but normal sized job, Start with Decoder or SOX because they let you trial and they will not bankrupt you while you learn. If you are price sensitive and your targets are soft, iProel. If you want maximum clean EPS per gig, know the Maven. And if someone is offering you residential for a price that seems too good, treat it as data center or treat it as a warning. Here is the part where I tell you where I fit. Honestly, I do not sell residential proxies. I run a mobile proxy operation, real phones on real carrier connections in Singapore, and that is a different tool for a different job. Mobile OPFC is even higher up the trust ladder than residential because a single carrier IP is shared by thousands of real phones, so sites are extremely reluctant to block it. That makes mobile the strongest option for the hardest targets, the account-heavy work, the things that get residential flagged, but it is more expensive per gig and it is overkill if your target does not need it. So if you are scraping public data at volume and your target tolerates residential, buy residential from one of the names I just covered and do not let me upsell you. If you are doing account work or hitting a target that eats residential alive, that is exactly when a mobile proxy earns its price, and that is the part I can actually help with. If you want the longer write-ups, the per provider notes, and the picks I keep updated as prices and pools change, they all live on BlackHatReview.org. I buy these myself and I keep the reviews honest, including the bits the providers would rather I left out. The whole point of this channel is that I have no reason to lie to you because I would rather you trust me on the one thing I actually sell than oversell you on 9 things I do not. Next up, I am doing the same teardown for mobile proxies, specifically the category I know best, including the cheap resellers that buy from operators like me and mark it up 4 times. If that is useful to you, subscribe because I put out one tested, honest review every weekday. I will see you in the next one.